You hear that? That ticking sound? Ever wished you could just pause it? Just for a moment. Well, what if I told you about a man who did something way more profound than just stopping time?
He took our entire understanding of reality, the very clockwork of the universe, and just completely reinvented it. His name, of course, was Albert Einstein. And in this explainer, we're going to follow the incredible journey of how a curious, kind of misunderstood kid became this global icon whose ideas are still shaping the world we live in today. So let's dive in. To really get the genius, you first have to understand the rebel. So let's rewind the clock and see where this extraordinary mind actually came from. Right from the start, Einstein just didn't fit the mold. He was a late talker, which really worried his parents. And his teachers, they just saw a boy who was disruptive and questioned everything. But here's the thing. What they saw as disobedience was really a deep, burning curiosity. He simply refused to accept "because I said so" as an answer. He absolutely hated the rigid, memorization-based school system of his time. And this really shows you the huge gap between perception and reality, right? The world saw a lazy daydreamer, a student who probably wasn't going to amount to much. But behind that, what was really going on was an intensely independent thinker. He was already asking questions that were way bigger than his school was even equipped to answer. After school, he couldn't even get a teaching job, so he ends up in a Swiss patent office. It seemed like a total dead end. But this humble job, it gave him two absolutely crucial things: a steady paycheck, and more importantly, time. Time to just think. So while he was evaluating other people's inventions by day, he was secretly conducting these profound thought experiments in his head, wrestling with the very nature of light, space, and time. And all that quiet thinking was about to explode into the world. In a single year, this unknown patent clerk would publish 4 papers that would forever change the course of physics. And it all kicked off in 1905. The year was 1905. Science historians actually call it the Annus Mirabilis, the miracle year. And from the quiet of his desk, Einstein just unleashed this flood of revolutionary ideas. So first up was special relativity. The core idea is that no matter how fast you're going, the laws of physics are always the same, and the speed of light is the ultimate cosmic speed limit. Nothing goes faster. Now, that simple idea had an absolutely wild consequence. Space and time aren't fixed. They're relative. For instance, a clock on a super fast train would actually tick slower than a clock on the ground. It's a concept that totally messes with our everyday intuition, but it's a fundamental truth of our universe. Next, he tackled light itself. For centuries, scientists have been debating whether light was a wave or a particle. Einstein's brilliant idea? It's both. He argued that light travels in these little individual packets of energy he called quanta. We call them photons now. And funny enough, it was this idea, not relativity, that would eventually win him the Nobel Prize. And finally, almost as an afterthought to his paper on relativity, he scribbled down an equation that would become the most famous in the world: E equals mc squared. This revealed a profound truth. Mass and energy are basically the same thing. Mass is just an incredibly concentrated form of energy. And that insight, it unlocked the power of the atom and defined a whole new age. After 1905, the world couldn't ignore Albert Einstein any longer. But his story became about so much more than just science. It became the story of an icon grappling with the massive weight of his own discoveries. His fame didn't happen overnight. But in 1919, things really took off. An experiment during a solar eclipse proved his new theory of general relativity was correct by showing that gravity could literally bend light. After that, he became a global sensation. The newspapers hailed him, he won the Nobel Prize, and pretty soon, his face was one of the most recognizable on Earth. But Einstein used his newfound fame for more than just physics. As a passionate humanitarian, he spoke out fiercely against war and nationalism. He championed civil rights and famously called racism a disease of white people. He felt this deep personal responsibility for the consequences of his work, especially the atomic bomb, which his E equals mc squared equation had made possible.
So why does a man who did his greatest work over a century ago still matter so much? Well, because his theories aren't just abstract ideas in a textbook. They are running the world around us. Take GPS, for example. Every single time you use maps on your phone, you are relying on Einstein's relativity.
See, his theories predict that for a satellite orbiting Earth at high speed and in weaker gravity, time literally ticks a tiny bit faster. Without constantly adjusting for these effects, we're talking a few microseconds a day, your GPS would be off by several miles within 24 hours. His universe is the one we all live in.
In the end, this quote just says it all. He wasn't just another great scientist. His curiosity, his willingness to question everything, and his incredible insights into the nature of reality really defined the entire scientific spirit of the 20th century.
Einstein's story is proof that a single mind, driven by a rebellious and relentless curiosity, can change how we see everything. And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. Who is the misunderstood daydreamer, the quiet clerk out there today, whose ideas are about to rewrite our tomorrow?